All right. Buckle up, everybody. We're going on a deep dive.
A deep dive.
That's right. And this one is going to peel back the wrapper on something.
Ooh, a wrapper.
Yeah, on something you probably have in your kitchen right now.
Let me guess.
Uh-huh.
Bananas.
Bananas. That's right. We're going deep into the history of the banana business.
The banana business sounds exciting.
And trust me, it is way more thrilling than you might think.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So we're talking about how a single company, United Fruit,
United Fruit, I've heard of them.
pretty much went from selling bruised bananas,
Bruised bananas like the ones nobody wants.
exactly, to basically running Central America.
Wow, running Central America from bruised bananas.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so we're talking about big business, big power.
Big power, and of course, big bananas.
I am definitely ready to dive in.
All right, so let's start with the man at the heart of this whole story.
The man, the myth, the legend.
You could say that. Sam Zemurray, a.k.a. Sam the Banana Man.
Sam the Banana Man, what a name.
This guy, he started with nothing, selling those rejected bananas.
The ones nobody wanted, the bruised ones?
Yep. But he was a hustler, a real go-getter,
So a classic rags to riches story.
with some seriously wild twists and turns along the way.
Okay, so how did he go from those sad bananas to, ruling Central America?
Well, that's what's so fascinating about Sam.
Yeah.
He had this knack for seeing opportunities where others just saw, well, bruised bananas.
So what, he figured out how to make those bananas look good again or something?
What's even more interesting than that?
All right, I'm all ears.
Back then, selling ripe bananas was unheard of.
Unheard of.
People thought they'd spoil too quickly, wouldn't last.
Ah, I see.
But Sam, he realized people actually wanted ripe bananas.
Makes sense. Ready to eat, no waiting.
Exactly, not some green thing that needs a week on the counter.
So he found a way to get them to market faster,
Not just faster, he figured out how to buy them cheap, get them to customers quickly.
undercutting the competition.
Pure genius.
Absolutely, and you said this was a sign of things to come.
Oh yeah, that drive for efficiency, squeezing every penny out of a banana.
It's like he was training for something bigger.
It fueled his later moves, his whole rivalry with the big guys. United Fruit.
Okay, so let's talk about United Fruit. They were the top dogs, right?
Top dogs, the kings of the banana world.
I bet they weren't too happy about this Sam guy coming along.
They had massive ships, plantations all over Central America.
They controlled the whole supply chain.
They basically were the government in some of these countries.
So that's where the term Banana Republic comes from?
Bingo. It all started with companies like United Fruit.
So the term might sound funny, but the reality was pretty serious.
Deadly serious.
Yeah, they controlled the land, the workers, everything.
It's a scary example of what happens when corporations get too much power.
It's about exploitation, environmental damage, even influencing U.S. foreign policy.
Their legacy still affects those regions today.
Wow, so we're not just talking about bananas anymore. This is a whole system.
It's a system, and one that Sam Zemurray was about to shake up in a big way.
This is where things get really interesting, right?
This is where we get to the banana wars.
The banana wars, you're kidding, right?
Oh, I wish I was.
Actual wars.
Actual wars. Sam's company, Cuyamel Fruit,
Okay.
going head-to-head with United Fruit. And it was a wild ride.
So we're talking sabotage,
Land grabs,
Yeah.
even a floating barge bridge,
a floating barge bridge.
just to get around their rival.
Seriously.
Like something out of an action movie.
Except with, bananas.
With bananas as the prize. Yep.
And Sam was the underdog in all this.
The ultimate underdog. But he had street smarts.
And he knew the banana trade like the back of his hand.
And he was a gambler, willing to take risks that United Fruit wouldn't even dream of.
So he used that to his advantage.
One story, it still blows my mind.
Okay, I gotta hear this.
United Fruit, they were trying to figure out who legally owned this piece of land.
Legal battles, that can take forever.
And Sam, while they were messing around with lawyers, he goes and buys it
He buys it.
from both potential owners,
He bought the land from both of them.
both of them. He was playing chess while they were playing checkers.
That is classic Sam.
That's our Sam. But eventually, the U.S. government stepped in.
They had to get involved,
They'd had enough of these banana battles. It was causing too much chaos.
destabilizing the whole region.
Exactly. So they basically told Sam and United Fruit,
Play nice, Charles.
pretty much, they said, you guys figure this out yourselves, or we will.
So what happened?
Well, that's how we got the merger.
The merger.
Cuyamel Fruit and United Fruit, 1929, they became one.
And that was the end of the banana wars?
For now.
For now. That doesn't sound good.
Well, Sam became a multimillionaire, retired, supposed to be enjoying life. But there's always a but.
I was just thinking that.
He starts noticing that United Fruit, they're making some big mistakes.
They're messing things up.
Messing things up big time. Their profits are tanking.
What? They don't know how to sell bananas anymore.
They'd become complacent, inefficient, big corporation problems.
They forgot what got them there in the first place.
And they completely ignored Sam when he tried to offer advice.
They thought they were too big to fail.
They thought they'd bought him out, problem solved, no more Sam.
But Sam, he was never one to just sit back and watch things fall apart.
This is where it gets good.
Okay, tell me everything.
He decides to take back control of United Fruit.
Wait, he came out of retirement?
Like Michael Jordan coming back to the Bulls.
Wow, that's a power move.
A power move for the ages. He met with other shareholders, got the votes.
So he just waltzed into a board meeting and said,
"You're all fired."
No way.
I bet their jaws hit the floor.
They underestimated him again.
They never learned, and he played them like a fiddle, just like old times.
This is like a banana business thriller.
It is, and it's only going to get wilder from here.
Okay, so what happens next? What does Sam do now that he's back in charge? Sam is back in charge. The king has returned. You'd think that would fix everything.
You'd think so, but even Sam couldn't escape what was coming next.
Oh, what was that?
It wasn't rival companies this time. It was something much bigger.
Something bigger than United Fruit. What could that be?
A disease, a devastating disease that was threatening to wipe out, well, basically the entire banana industry.
Hold on, a disease that could destroy all the bananas.
This wasn't just a few bad crops. This was the real deal.
Okay, so what was this banana-killing disease?
Panama disease, it was called.
Panama disease.
And it was spreading like wildfire through all these banana plantations.
So this was a serious threat to United Fruit.
A serious threat to anyone who liked bananas. And this wasn't just some surface problem.
What do you mean?
This was a fungus, lived in the soil, infected the plants at the root.
Like a ticking time bomb.
Exactly. Even Sam couldn't just buy his way out of this one.
So what did he do?
He tried everything, bought tons of land, hoping to outrun the disease.
Trying to find healthy soil.
Poured money into research, looking for a cure, anything to stop it. But Panama disease, it was relentless. It just kept spreading.
So even the banana man himself couldn't stop this.
It shows that sometimes, even the most powerful people, they're up against forces they can't control.
Mother Nature doesn't care about your business plans.
Not one bit. And as if Panama disease wasn't bad enough, then World War II breaks out.
Talk about bad timing.
The worst. Everything gets disrupted. Shipping, supply chains.
Demand for bananas probably went down too.
People had bigger things to worry about. And United Fruit, they lost ships to the war effort.
The ones they had left were getting attacked.
It was like one thing after another.
A perfect storm.
Exactly. Disease, war. It must have felt like the walls were closing in.
So what did they do? How did they survive?
Well, Sam, he knew they couldn't just rely on bananas anymore.
Diversify, that's what they say in
They
business.
started looking at other crops, sugarcane, hemp, palm oil.
Trying to build a whole agricultural empire.
He wasn't going down without a fight.
That's the Sam we know, but it sounds like things were still pretty rough.
They were. And then, on top of everything else, Sam's son, Samuel Jr.,
Oh no.
he was killed in a plane crash during the war.
That's awful.
It was a huge loss for Sam, both personally and for the business.
He was being groomed to take over, right?
He was. It's a reminder that even with all the success in the world sometimes, life throws you curveballs.
It's just not fair.
And despite everything Sam tried, Panama disease, it just kept spreading.
A slow motion train wreck.
It was. And they knew they couldn't keep ignoring it forever.
So they had to make a choice.
A tough choice. They had to abandon the Gros Michel banana,
The one that built their empire.
the one, and switch to a new type, the Cavendish.
Wait a minute, the Cavendish, that's the banana we eat today, right?
The very one, the one you put in your smoothies, your banana bread.
So all this time, we've been eating the backup banana.
The understudy that stepped into the spotlight. And it's kind of ironic
How so?
because now the Cavendish, it's facing its own version of Panama disease.
You're kidding me.
A new strain, just as deadly.
So history's repeating itself.
It's like the banana business is cursed or something.
It makes you wonder if it's all just a gamble, no matter what you do.
You think you've got to figure it out, then bam, a new disease, back to square one.
It's a bit unsettling.
It is. And while all this is happening with the bananas, there's another storm brewing, this time in Guatemala.
One of United Fruit's biggest operating countries.
And they just elected a new president, Jacobo Arbenz.
And he was not a fan of United Fruit, was he?
Let's just say he had a different vision for Guatemala.
A vision that didn't include a giant corporation calling the shots.
This is where we get into Cold War politics, land reform, even a CIA-backed coup.
Hold on, a CIA-backed coup?
The stakes were about to get a lot higher than just bananas.
This is getting intense. We're going to need a whole other deep dive just to cover this. A CIA-backed coup. It sounds like United Fruit was playing a dangerous game.
They were, and it would come back to bite them big time.
What happened?
The truth about the CIA involvement, it got out, made headlines.
That's never good, especially in the middle of the Cold War.
People were outraged. United Fruit became this symbol of corporate greed, American imperialism.
Their image was tarnished, probably beyond repair.
They tried to do damage control, but the damage was done.
It's hard to come back from something like that.
And as if things couldn't get worse, just days after the coup in Guatemala,
Oh no, what now?
the U.S. Justice Department, they filed an antitrust lawsuit against United Fruit.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
The walls were closing in. They were being held accountable for years of shady dealings.
So what happened with the lawsuit?
They had to break up their monopolies, sell off a big chunk of their land.
That must have been a huge blow.
It was the beginning of the end for United Fruit. Their reign as the Banana Kings was over.
And what about Sam? Where was he in all this?
Well, just a year later, 1951, Sam Zemurray, he retires from United Fruit
For good this time.
for good, and he sells all of his stock.
He must have seen the writing on the wall.
He was always a few steps ahead. He knew the game was changing. The old ways weren't working anymore.
And he was right, wasn't he?
He was. After Sam left, United Fruit, they just kept declining.
More competition, that Panama disease still looming.
And they got caught up in even more scandals. It was like a downward spiral.
They tried to rebrand, right? Chiquita Bananas?
New name, same problems. They couldn't outrun their past.
Bribery scandals, paramilitary groups. It just kept coming.
A reminder that actions have consequences, even for powerful corporations.
And it makes you think about our own choices as consumers.
Every time we buy something, we're supporting a company, a way of doing business.
It's up to us to demand better, to hold these companies accountable.
So next time you're at the store, look at those bananas.
Do you remember the story of Sam Zemurray, United Fruit, and all the drama that went into getting that banana on the shelf?
It's a reminder that even the simplest things, they have a history, and sometimes it's a pretty wild one.
It's a story about ambition, about power, and the ripple effects of globalization.
It definitely makes you think, could something similar happen today in a different industry?
It's a question worth asking, and it's one we all need to be thinking about.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the banana business.
It was a fascinating journey full of twists and turns I never expected.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into history's hidden corners.